Hi, welcome to video 2 for Foundations and Formations of Government. Today we want to talk about how different types and systems of governments operate, so let's get to it. We're going to start off with the unitary system today. Okay, a unitary system is a government that functions like as one central unit. Okay, so basically there's only a national government in a unitary system. They don't have any state or regional governments. Okay, moving on then to a confederal system. In a confederal system, we have a loose union of independent states. So if there is a federal government or a national government, it doesn't have much power, if any at all. Okay, the United States operated as a confederal system under the Articles of Confederation, when our state governments retained most authority and the federal government really couldn't do anything. And last is a federal system of government. Now we have a federal system today. The federal system of government is when we have a governing power that's divided between the state governments and the national government. So there's some things that the national government can do, and there's some things that the state governments can do. And sometimes those powers can overlap. For example, the national government is the only government that can coin money. Okay, you can imagine how crazy that would be if each state got to have their own money. The state governments have the right to set requirements for teachers whenever they get their teaching certificate. Both of our governments can tax, so that's one of those overlapping powers. But one of my more popular raps, which I'm sure you've all watched on YouTube, is called the federalism rap. So without further ado. Federalism, what? Federalism, what? A division of what? Of power between the states and the federal government. Yeah. That is a great way for you to remember what federalism is. In a federal system or federalism, we have power that's divided between the national government and many states. Scooting on then to different types of government. Now with this specific part, if I were you in your notes, I would make like a chart or something. So let's start with the types of democracies. So I would make a chart, something like this. We have direct, and then we have indirect. Okay, so if I were you, that's what my chart would look like. Okay, so in the United States today, we do not have a direct democracy, and hopefully that's something that you learned in previous classes. In the United States, we have what's called a representative democracy, and I'll jump to that in just a second. But the ancient Athenians were the first civilization to give us what we know now as a direct democracy, in which all citizens directly participated in government. Okay, so that would be like if our classroom was a direct democracy, and whenever I was going to make a decision about something, I would ask all of you individually, and you would all vote. Okay. The representative democracy, like we have in the United States, is where people elect representatives to make government decisions on our behalf. So, for example, we elect members of Congress. We elect the president to help make those government decisions. Can you imagine the chaos that would ensue if every person in the United States cast a vote on every single issue? Nothing would ever get done. It would be crazy. So in our American democracy today, we have a representative democracy. Sometimes that's also called a republic. So make sure you know that those two terms are interchangeable. We also have oligarchies, and in an oligarchy, we basically have a small group of people that take government power. So sometimes this could be like a really wealthy group of people. This could also be like a group of people who take power by force, so like a small military coup or something like that. Could be an example of an oligarchy. And an autocracy, here's where you're going to want to make another chart. We've got, or some sort of graphic organizer. In an autocracy, we have monarchies and dictatorships. And then we also have two different types of monarchies, okay? We have an absolute monarchy, and then we also have a constitutional monarchy. And I probably should have used a bigger piece of whiteboard, okay? So it should look something like this. So we've got our autocracy up here, and then we've got our two different types of autocracy, a dictatorship and a monarchy, and then you've got your absolute and your constitutional monarchy Those are the different types of monarchies, okay? So in a monarchy, monarchies are typically characterized by a king or a queen having the authority to govern, okay? And our two different types of monarchies, we have an absolute monarchy in which the king or the queen governs by themselves and they have like total control over every decision that's made. And then we also have a constitutional monarchy. And in constitutional monarchies, the king or the queen rules in conjunction with like a legislative branch, okay? So a great example of a constitutional monarchy would be Great Britain, how we have Queen Elizabeth, and then she has parliament that she rules with, okay? A good example of an absolute monarchy would be France during the reign of King Louis XIV. He called himself the Sun King, and he pretty much had all power. Anything he wanted to do, he did it, okay? Next, we have a dictatorship. And a dictatorship is typically characterized by one person or a small group of people taking over a country by force, okay? And typically ruling with an iron fist, not being really out to help the people of the country, just kind of out to help himself, okay? Or herself. Next, we have a theocracy, and a theocracy is a government based on religion, okay, or a system of government in which religion plays a prominent role in the legislative process, okay? That's all I've got for you guys today. If you have any questions, please let me know.